The storm on the alien world of Thaurin was like no storm on Earth. Waves rose like mountains, crashing with the roar of falling stone. The river that cut through the glowing jungle was wide, dark, and alive. It carried the smell of strange flowers, but it also carried danger. Humans were not meant to be here. Yet one human stood on the river's edge, watching. His name was Aaron, a mechanic from Earth who came to Thaurin as part of the colony program. He had repaired ships, built machines, and even fixed alien tools, but he never thought he would save a life today. Aaron's eyes narrowed when he saw movement in the raging waters. It was not debris, it was a figure, a woman struggling against the current. Her silver hair glowed under the twin moons, and her body was dragged under again and again. Aaron did not think, he acted. He leapt into the water, the cold shocking his skin. The current pulled him hard, but his arms fought against it. He swam with everything he had, following the flashes of silver hair. When his hand finally caught her arm, he felt her body weak and trembling. "Hold on," he shouted, though the storm drowned his voice. She did not answer. Her eyes were closed, but her chest still rose with breath. Aaron pulled her close and kicked against the current. The river tried to swallow them both, but Aaron fought like a man who refused to lose. His muscles burned, his lungs screamed, but inch by inch he reached the shore. With one final push, he dragged her onto the glowing sand. She lay still, her chest rising faintly, her skin pale with river water. Aaron dropped beside her, pressing on her chest, forcing air into her lungs. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a gasp, she coughed out the water, her eyes snapping open, glowing like molten silver. The alien woman looked at him with shock, her lips trembling. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice soft but heavy with meaning. Aaron, panting hard, nodded. "Yeah, couldn't just let you drown," he said, his tone casual though his heart still pounded. But the woman's eyes widened in horror, then in awe. "You do not understand," she said, voice shaking. "On Thaurin, to pull one from death's waters is to bind them forever." Aaron frowned, confused. "Bind them? What do you mean?" he asked. Her silver eyes filled with both fear and wonder. "It is our law," she whispered. "By saving me, you have claimed me. I belong to you now." The words hung heavy in the storm's fading air. Aaron blinked, stunned, unsure if he heard her right. He had come to this world to fix machines, not to gain a life debt, not to gain her. She pressed a trembling hand against his chest. "I am Yalara, daughter of the High House of Nira. Now I am yours, by law, by blood, by oath." Aaron shook his head, still catching his breath. "Wait, hold on. I didn't do this for a reward," he said, but she only lowered her eyes. The storm above began to fade, leaving the jungle quiet again. Bioluminescent plants glowed around them, casting silver light on their faces. Aaron felt a strange chill as he looked into her eyes. This was no simple rescue, no accident of fate. This was the beginning of something larger, something binding. Yalara leaned closer, her voice barely above the whisper of the river. "You do not understand, human," she said. "You have changed both our lives, forever." Her hand gripped his firmly, her silver eyes glowing with unspoken promise. And Aaron, though confused, felt the weight of destiny press upon him. The river had nearly claimed a life tonight, but instead, it forged a bond. A bond between a human and an alien, sealed by law, sealed by water, sealed by fate. Aaron could not yet know where this bond would lead. But deep in his chest, his heart beat with both fear and a strange spark of hope. The night on Thaurin did not rest. Even when storms faded, the jungle never slept. Its glowing plants whispered in colors. Its strange beasts cried from hidden shadows. Aaron sat beside Yalara, still trying to understand her words. She spoke of laws, oaths, and bonds that sounded like ancient ritual, but her voice carried no joke. "You don't get it," Aaron said, running a hand through his wet hair. "Back on Earth, saving someone is just saving someone, not owning them." Yalara's silver eyes fixed on him, calm but unyielding. "Here, it is not ownership," she replied softly. "It is union. It is forever. When you pulled me from death's waters, you became bound. Your life is now tied to mine, your steps, your breath, your fate." Aaron stared at her, his heart uneasy. The idea of destiny was something he never believed in. But now, hearing her voice filled with conviction, he felt the weight of her words press against him. "And what if I don't want this bond?" he asked quietly. Yalara's face grew pale, her lips trembling. "Then I must still follow. Law is law. I cannot break it without breaking myself." Silence fell between them, broken only by the crackle of strange insects glowing like sparks. Aaron sighed, looking up at the twin moons. "This wasn't what I signed up for. I came here to fix machines, not to." His words stopped as he saw movement in the shadows. Figures emerging from the jungle, tall, armored, their eyes glowing faintly. Yalara gasped, her body stiffening. "The enforcers," she whispered. "They must have seen us. They will judge." Aaron stood quickly, fists clenched, though he had no weapon. The armored aliens surrounded them, their silver masks shining under the moonlight. One stepped forward, his voice deep, echoing like stone. "You pulled her from death's waters, human, by the law of Thalrin. She is yours, and you are hers. Do you deny this?" Aaron swallowed, his throat dry. He wanted to deny, to push this away, but Yalara's hand gripped his arm tightly, begging silently. If he spoke wrong, he sensed danger would fall on them both. "I saved her, yes," Aaron said slowly. The enforcer tilted his head, the silver mask reflecting Aaron's tired face. "Then by law, the bond is sealed," the enforcer declared. "You are united under the oath of water. You are marked. No one may challenge this without war." The enforcers lowered their weapons and stepped back into the jungle, leaving only silence behind. Aaron turned to Yalara, frustration in his voice. "This is insane. They treat this like some kind of marriage. I don't even know you." Yalara lowered her gaze, her hands trembling. "I know, but you must understand. This bond protects me too. My house is divided. Many wish me dead. By saving me, you have made yourself my shield, and I, your shadow." Her words carried both sorrow and hidden strength. Aaron felt the truth of it, even if he didn't like it. He sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. "All right, then tell me everything. What danger are we talking about?" Yalara lifted her silver eyes, glowing with determination. "My father's house is powerful, but filled with enemies. I was thrown into the river to erase me. If you had not come, I would be dead. Now, with the bond sealed, they cannot touch me without touching you." Aaron's heart sank, realizing he had stumbled into a political storm far larger than himself. "I'm just a mechanic," he muttered. Yalara's lips curved into a faint, sad smile. "Not anymore. You are my savior, and whether you accept it or not, Thalrin will see you as my mate, forever." The jungle hummed louder, as if the world itself listened. Aaron sat back, his chest heavy with the weight of destiny. He had crossed the river to save a life, but he had crossed into something deeper. And somewhere inside him, beneath the fear, a spark of resolve began to burn. The bond was real, the danger was real, and now, so was his place in this alien world. He could run, or he could fight, but either way, there was no turning back. And beside him, Yalara whispered softly, "Together, we will endure, human." Morning came with a pale silver light, spilling across the jungle canopy. The storm was gone, but the river still whispered of last night's struggle. Aaron woke to the sound of Yalara's voice, soft yet urgent. "We cannot stay here. The High House will send for me, and now, for you." Aaron rubbed his eyes, still heavy from exhaustion. He had saved her life, and now he was being dragged into alien politics he did not understand. "High House," he muttered, standing slowly. Yalara nodded, her long silver hair shining as she spoke. "My family rules part of Thalrin, but they are divided. Some see me as heir, others see me as threat. Your bond with me makes you target too." Aaron sighed, frustration tightening in his chest. "I came here to fix ships, not play king in someone else's game." But Yalara only gave him a steady look. "You don't have a choice anymore. You carry the mark of water. All will see it on your skin. All will know the bond." Aaron looked down and froze. Across his forearm, faint, glowing lines shimmered like silver rivers. They pulsed softly with each beat of his heart. This wasn't here before," he whispered. "It is the seal of the bond," Yalara said. "The river chose you as much as I did." The words struck him harder than the storm ever could. But before he could reply, The distant roar of engines filled the air. From the sky descended a craft, sleek and curved like a silver blade. Symbols of the high house burned bright on its wings. Yalara's face grew tense. "They have come," she said simply. The ship landed on the glowing sand, its doors opening with a hiss. Figures in elegant armor stepped out, their eyes cold and sharp. One of them, older, with hair like crystal threads, walked forward. His voice carried both authority and disdain. "Yalara, daughter of the High House, alive when you were meant to be gone, and bound to a human no less." Yalara stood tall, though her hands trembled at her sides. "Father," she said quietly. Aaron's heart skipped. This was her father, the ruler of her house. The man's silver eyes turned toward Aaron, scanning him like a tool under repair. "You are the one who pulled her from death's waters," he said coldly. Aaron met his gaze, unflinching. "I wasn't going to let her die," he answered. The ruler's lips curled in something between a sneer and a smile. "By our law, she is yours, but by our politics, she is mine to command. Your presence changes everything, human." Aaron felt heat rise in his chest. He hated the way the man looked at Yalara, as if she were a piece on a game board. "She's not property," Aaron said firmly. The ruler's eyes narrowed, a dangerous silence falling over the landing site. Yalara stepped between them quickly, her voice sharp. "Father, the bond cannot be broken. You know this. If you try to separate us, war will come to the house." The ruler studied her, then Aaron, then finally nodded, though his gaze burned with anger. "Then you will come with me, both of you," he said. "Let the council decide what to do with this accident." Aaron clenched his fists, but Yalara gave him a warning glance. For now, resistance would be foolish. They boarded the craft, the jungle fading beneath them as it lifted into the sky. Aaron looked out of the window, watching the glowing trees vanish, replaced by endless clouds. His mind churned with questions, but one thought burned brighter than the rest. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a piece of alien law, a shield, a mate, and maybe a threat. The craft soared toward a sprawling city of silver towers and glowing bridges. It was unlike anything Aaron had seen before, a fusion of beauty and power. At its center rose the high house itself, vast and radiant, a fortress wrapped in light. Aaron felt the weight of what awaited inside. Yalara leaned close, her whisper trembling. "Stay strong. Human, they will test us. They will try to break us, but the bond is our only shield." Aaron's eyes met hers, and for the first time, he did not feel only fear. He felt a strange fire rising within. If the council wanted to test him, he would not break. The bond had chosen him, and though he never asked for it, he would not run from it either. The high house loomed closer, silver walls shining like judgment itself. Aaron's jaw tightened, his heart steady. The fight was just beginning. The high house rose like a mountain of silver light. Bridges of glowing crystal stretched between towers, and the air hummed with energy. Aaron stepped out of the craft, his boots pressing against smooth stone that shimmered with flowing patterns. It felt alive, like the building itself was watching. Guards flanked them on every side, tall and silent, their weapons gleaming. Yalara walked close to Aaron, her chin lifted high though her hands trembled at her sides. Inside, the halls of the high house opened into vast chambers, filled with towering figures draped in silver robes. Their eyes glowed faintly as they whispered among themselves. This was the Council of Thauren, the rulers, the judges, the voices of law. One figure rose, his voice sharp as steel. "Human, you stand before us, bound by the river to one of our own. Do you understand the weight of this bond?" Aaron met their gaze, his heart pounding, but his voice steady. "I understand I saved her life, and I'll stand by that." The chamber echoed with whispers, some mocking, some approving. Yalara stepped forward, her voice strong. "The law is clear. He pulled me from death's waters. The bond is sealed. No council can undo what the river has marked." An elder leaned forward, his silver hair shining. "Perhaps, but the question is not whether the bond exists, but whether the human is worthy to carry it." Aaron's jaw tightened. "Worthy? I didn't ask for this, but I'm not going to abandon her." The elder's lips curved into a cold smile. "Then prove it. Human, prove your worth by trial." The chamber shifted as a great circle opened in the floor, revealing an arena of stone and glowing water. Weapons floated above it, suspended by invisible force. The council's voice thundered. Face the trial of the bond. If you survive, your union is honored. If you fail, the bond dies with you. Yalara gasped, her hand reaching for Aaron. This is madness. He is not trained for this, she cried. But Aaron stepped forward, his chest rising with stubborn fire. Then it's a good thing I learned fast, he said. The floor lowered, placing Aaron in the center of the arena. The weapons dropped, clattering across stone, swords, spears, and strange alien blades that hummed with energy. Aaron grabbed the closest thing he understood, a long spear with a glowing edge. The air around him shimmered, and from the opposite side, a figure appeared, armored, tall, its eyes burning red. It was no ordinary opponent. It was a construct of the council, a warrior built of energy and steel. It raised its blade, and the trial began. The first strike came fast, a slash that cut through air with deadly force. Aaron barely blocked, the impact rattling through his arms. He staggered, but did not fall. He had fought storms, carried machines twice his size, and he would not fall now. With a roar, he thrust the spear forward, sparks flying as it clashed against the warrior's chest. The council watched in silence, their glowing eyes unblinking. Yalara's voice rang out above the clash. Fight! Aaron, remember the river chose you, not them. Her words burned inside him, giving him strength. Aaron dodged another strike, rolling across the stone, sweat dripping down his brow. The spear felt heavy, but his grip only tightened. He remembered every repair he had ever done, every broken machine he forced back to life. This was no different. It was just another system to break, another problem to solve. He shifted his stance, waited for the warrior's next strike, then slammed the spear against its joint. The alien construct shuddered, sparks bursting from its arm. For the first time, the council murmured with surprise. Aaron pressed the attack, striking again and again. The warrior staggered back, its blade dragging against stone. With one last shout, Aaron drove the spear through its chest, light exploding outward. The construct shattered into glowing fragments that faded into the air. Silence fell, heavy and absolute. Aaron stood in the center, panting, his arms trembling but his back unbroken. The council's leader rose slowly, his voice filled with reluctant respect. The bond stands. The human has proven his right. Yalara rushed to him, her silver eyes shining with relief. You did it, she whispered, her hand gripping his tightly. Aaron looked at her, his chest still burning with adrenaline. I didn't just do it for me, he said softly. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, her trembling hand brushing his cheek. But even as the chamber filled with murmurs, Aaron noticed something in the council's eyes. Not all were convinced, not all were pleased. Some looked at him with respect, but others with cold hatred. He had survived the trial, but he had also made enemies. Enemies who would not rest until the bond was broken. The trial was over, but the real fight was only beginning. The council chamber emptied slowly, silver-robed figures drifting away like ghosts. Their glowing eyes lingered on Aaron, some with curiosity, others with silent hatred. Aaron stood tall, though his arms still trembled from the trial. Yalara stayed close, her hand never leaving his. But deep inside, he felt the storm was not over, only waiting. As they were led through the halls of the high house, Aaron noticed the walls. They were alive with patterns of light, shifting like water across stone. Alien portraits and flowing symbols told stories he could not read. Everywhere, eyes followed him, guards, servants, even children, whispering at the sight of a human carrying the mark of the river. In a quiet corridor, Yalara leaned close, her voice low. You must be careful. The council may have accepted the trial, but not all of them wanted you to survive. Aaron frowned, his hand brushing the faint, glowing lines on his arm. They can glare all they want. I'm not backing down, he said. But Yalara shook her head, her silver hair catching the light. They do more than glare. They plot. If they cannot break the bond by trial, they will try in shadows. Before Aaron could answer, a voice drifted from behind. You should listen to her, human. Aaron turned quickly, his body tense. A figure stepped out from the shadows, tall, robed in deep black, his silver eyes colder than ice. It was Yalara's uncle, Lord Serac, one of the council's strongest voices. Impressive, Serac said, his tone smooth but sharp. You survived the trial, but trials prove nothing. Machines can be broken, and humans can be erased. Aaron felt his jaw tighten, his voice steady. I'm not afraid of you. Serac's lips curved into a thin smile. You should be. The bond makes you dangerous, and dangerous things do not last long in the high house. Yalara stepped forward, her voice fierce. Uncle, enough. The law protects him, the river protects him. Serac's eyes flicked to her, hard and cruel. The river gave you chains, girl, not freedom. Your bond is weakness, and weakness cannot lead our people. His words cut deep, but before Yalara could respond, Serac turned and vanished into the shadows. Aaron exhaled slowly, tension heavy in his chest. He's not going to stop, is he? Aaron muttered. No, Yalara whispered, her eyes filled with sorrow and fire. He will not stop until he has destroyed us both. That night, Aaron was given chambers inside the high house. Strange glowing lamps lit the room, and the walls hummed softly like a heartbeat. He lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to rest. He had fought storms, rivers, and trials, but now he faced whispers, daggers in the dark. And worse, he was in a place where he could trust no one but Yalara. As sleep finally pulled at his eyes, a faint sound stirred him. The hiss of a door, the whisper of metal against stone. Aaron sat up instantly, muscles tense. From the shadows, shapes slipped into the room, cloaked figures with blades glowing faintly blue. Assassins, silent and deadly. Aaron grabbed the only weapon he had, the spear from the trial, leaning against the wall. The assassins lunged, swift and merciless. The first blade slashed the air where his chest had been, but Aaron rolled aside, spear flashing up. With a grunt, he struck, the weapon humming as it pierced through cloak and armor. One assassin dropped, but two more closed in. Aaron's chest burned with fury. This was no trial. This was murder in the dark. He fought with raw strength, blocking one strike, shoving another figure back. The chamber filled with sparks and the hiss of blades. He was outnumbered, his arms heavy, when suddenly, silver light filled the room. Yalara stood in the doorway, her hands glowing with alien energy. Enough, she cried, her voice shaking the air. Bolts of silver fire burst from her palms, striking the assassins and sending them crashing against the walls. Their cloaks burned away, revealing the crest of Lord Serac etched on their armor. Aaron's chest heaved as silence returned. The assassins lay broken, their bodies smoking from Yalara's power. Aaron lowered the spear, sweat dripping down his face. They sent killers after me already, he muttered. Yalara's eyes burned with rage, her voice trembling. They will not stop, but neither will we. She stepped closer, placing her glowing hand over the bond mark on his arm. The river tied us together. Aaron, now we must fight as one, because this is no longer just about law. It is about survival. Aaron met her gaze, his voice firm. Then let them come. I've fought worse storms. But deep in the high house, in chambers filled with shadows, Serac watched through hidden eyes. His smile was cold, his plans endless. The bond had survived the river, the trial, and even assassins. But Serac would unleash something far darker before letting it survive forever. The dawn over the high house came with a blood-red glow. The sky itself seemed restless, as if it sensed what was coming. Aaron stood on the balcony of his chamber, the spear leaning against the wall beside him. He had survived storms, rivers, trials, and assassins, but now, something deeper stirred in the air. Yalara joined him, her silver hair catching the early light. Her eyes were heavy with worry, but her voice steady. Serac is moving faster than I feared. He will not stop with whispers or blades. He will call allies, old enemies of my father's house. If he brings them together, the high house will fall into war. Aaron's jaw clenched, his gaze fixed on the glowing horizon. So he wants civil war just to break us? Yalara nodded, her lips pressed tight. And to claim power for himself, with you dead and me erased, he becomes unchallenged. Aaron turned to her, his voice firm. Then we don't let him. If he wants war, we fight smarter, not just harder. Yalara looked at him with a faint smile, one touched by sadness. You speak as if you were born to this, but you are not of our people. Your bond gave you a place here, but the council will not listen to a human when the shadows of war rise. Aaron thought for a moment, his heart heavy. Back on Earth, he was just a mechanic, fixing things others broke. Maybe that was all he still was. Except now the broken thing was an alien world. Then I'll do what I always do, he said quietly. I'll fix what's broken, piece by piece, even if I have to bleed for it. Before Yalara could answer, the sound of horns echoed through the high house, deep and booming. A guard burst into their chamber, his voice strained. Lady Yalara, human Aaron, you are summoned to the Grand Hall, immediately. The pair exchanged a quick glance before following. The Grand Hall was filled with tension, council members speaking over one another, voices sharp. At the center stood Serac, his black robes flowing, his silver eyes glowing with cold fire. He raised a hand, and the chamber fell silent. Counselors, hear me, Serac said, his voice carrying like thunder. This bond between my niece and the human is a danger to our world. Already it has brought chaos. Assassins have fallen. Honor has been stained. If we allow this to stand, our enemies will see weakness. They will strike, unless we strike first. The chamber erupted with murmurs, some agreeing, others resisting. Aaron stepped forward, his voice loud and steady. You speak of weakness, but what I see is fear. You're afraid of change, afraid that a human stood in your trial and survived, afraid that your law binds you as much as it binds me. Gasps filled the hall, counselors glaring at him with both shock and curiosity. Serac's face hardened. You dare to speak in this chamber, outsider? Aaron met his eyes without flinching. I dare, because your laws gave me this right. Unless your laws mean nothing. The silence that followed was sharp as a blade. Yalara stepped beside him, her voice ringing clear. The bond is not weakness, it is strength. It unites two worlds. It proves the river's will. If you break it, you do not only defy the human, you defy Thauron itself. Some counselors nodded slowly. Others turned away, their loyalties uncertain. Serac's lips curled into a cruel smile. Then let us test your strength against more than words. I call the right of war. Let the bond be judged not in council, but in battle, armies against armies, and let the river decide who survives. The chamber exploded with sound, shouts of approval, cries of protest. The right of war was no small thing. It was an ancient law, one that could tear the high house apart. Aaron felt the weight of it crash against him, but before he could speak, Yalara's hand found his. Her voice trembled, but her eyes burned bright. Then we fight, Aaron, together, no matter what comes. Serac's gaze locked on them, cold and final. You will regret those words, niece, and you, human, your bond will end in blood. Outside, the horns sounded again, echoing across the city. The high house prepared for war, and Aaron realized the truth. He was no longer an outsider, no longer just a mechanic. He was a symbol, a threat, and perhaps the key to saving or destroying an alien world. The storm of war had begun, and there was no turning back. The horns of Thauron shook the skies. Armies gathered on the plains outside the high house, banners glowing with alien fire. The right of war had been called, and no one could escape its judgment. Aaron stood beside Yalara, armor of silver plates fitted awkwardly over his human frame. The spear he carried hummed with power, a gift of the council, yet heavy with expectation. Yalara's gaze swept the battlefield, her face calm though her hands trembled. Serac has gathered more allies than I feared. He promised them power if I fall, she said softly. Aaron tightened his grip on the spear, his voice steady. Then we don't fall, not today. She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing with both fear and hope. The river marked you, but fire will test us now. Across the field, Serac's forces stretched like a black tide. Armored soldiers with burning blades, beasts bound in chains, machines built for killing. At the front rode Serac himself, cloaked in black, his weapon a blade that burned with crimson light. His voice thundered across the field. This bond ends here. Niece, the river's mistake will be erased by fire. The ground shook as horns roared again, and the war began. Waves of Serac soldiers charged, the clash of metal and screams filling the air. Aaron fought with raw strength, his spear flashing with each strike. He was no trained warrior, but he was human, stubborn and unyielding. Every blow that should have dropped him only fueled his rage. Beside him, Yalara unleashed her silver fire, bolts of light striking down foes. Together they moved like storm and river, one force, one bond. But the battle was endless, Sirach's tide unbroken. Aaron's arms ached, his chest burned, yet he refused to fall. He remembered the stormy river, the night he had pulled Yalara from death's waters. He had not let go then, and he would not let go now. Through the chaos, Sirach advanced, cutting through his own soldiers to reach them. His crimson blade clashed against Aaron's spear, sparks exploding with each strike. "You are nothing but a machine fixer," Sirach spat, pressing him back. Aaron gritted his teeth, forcing the spear upward. "Maybe, but even broken machines can tear down kings," he growled. The duel raged, Sirach's strikes faster, sharper, fueled by fury. Aaron blocked, stumbled, struck back with desperate strength. Yalara joined the fight, her fire blasting against Sirach's armor, but his rage only grew. "You cannot fight destiny," Sirach roared, driving Aaron to his knees. Aaron's arms trembled, the spear slipping, death closing in. Then Yalara's voice cut through the chaos. "Destiny chose us, uncle, not you." Her silver fire wrapped around Aaron's mark, the bond glowing bright across his arm. Strength surged through him, the spear blazing like living water. Aaron rose with a shout, driving the weapon forward. The spear struck Sirach's chest, light exploding outward like a flood. Sirach's scream shook the battlefield as his blade shattered, his body consumed by silver fire and water's glow. When the light faded, he was gone, nothing but ash on the wind. Silence swept the field, the tide of soldiers broken, their leader destroyed. The armies lowered their weapons, the battle over. Aaron stood gasping, the spear still glowing faintly, Yalara at his side, her hand gripping his. The council's banners rose, voices shouting across the plains. "The bond stands, the bond is strength." Aaron looked at Yalara, exhaustion in his body but fire in his heart. "We made it," he whispered. She smiled faintly, tears glimmering in her silver eyes. "No, Aaron, we began it. The river bound us, fire tested us, and now, the future belongs to us." The high house stood scarred but unbroken. A human and an alien, bound by law, by battle, by something deeper than either had expected. Aaron had come to Thaurin as a mechanic, but now he stood as more. Not conqueror, not outsider, but partner, protector, and forever. The bond of water had been sealed in storm. The bond of fire had been sealed in war. And in the heart of Thaurin, a new story of strength and unity was born.